Good day, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM, WBISLP, Christian Inspiration for the Family and Ministry Teaching for Practical Christian Living. This is the Glenn Johnson Show. Motivation was Glenn. It is time to get motivated once again. Our encouragement and reaching out to our listening audience here in the great part of Eastern North Carolina, Pitt County. Joining me today is my soon-to-be new co-host. She has been on the show previously. She's been on the show with me last week. Our discussion was remembering 9/11. That is our topic of discussion today, but we have a special guest who will introduce herself at this time and why it's so important that we remember 9/11. Here is our special guest.
My name is Ariel Dorsent, and I am the interim Pitt County specialist for the 9/11 Day of Service and Remembrance Program, and I'm excited to be here today.
I am so excited and glad that you're here as well. So it's Pitt County, say that again.
The interim program specialist. Now, we do serve 4 counties, but I specialize in both Pitt County and Beaufort County.
Great. And why is it so important to remember 9/11?
It's just, number one, the program that I serve for, it's been a pinnacle, and the reason why the program has been created in the first place was to honor those lives lost and to really come together as a community and honor those family members that were lost and the first responders in the community that daily put their lives on the front line for us. And having witnessed that attack, you see why it's so important for us to really come together as a community before crises strike, because you just never know. And so I'm excited to be working for a program that highlights those first responders and the community and pulls them together.
And before I go over to Ms. Jacqueline Collins, I just want to point out and reiterate why is this important for me personally, because as an American citizen, I felt I was attacked personally. And like so many other Americans, they feel that they have been attacked personally when the attack took place on September 11, 2001. 2001. O is a letter. So 2001. Anyway, why is it personal and important for me? Because I remember waking up that morning. I turned on the television. I saw when the first plane went through the tower. I said, wait a minute. So my attention was focused on the television. When the tower collapsed, that really got my attention and shook me up. So I'm a military veteran. I'm a former member of the American Red Cross Disaster Service in New Jersey and a firefighter. I said, wait a minute, something's not right here. So having said that, I had my old Army fatigues and I had my old American Red Cross ID. I got on my motorcycle. I pinned my American Red Cross ID on my glove and hit my motorcycle and hit the turnpike and was headed for New York. And for the first time in history, the New Jersey Turnpike was free because they knew people had to go. The entire length of the New Jersey Turnpike was free. But that's what I want to focus on. So as I'm going down the turnpike, I see all this. Of course, there's a lot of traffic. It was like a parking lot and a sea of vehicles. And I met up with some other motorcyclists. They was heading the same direction, same place. And a state trooper stopped us. We told them what was going on. They gave us a state police escort to Liberty State Park, where we all assembled and met all the first responders that were going over. And there was a sea of fire apparatus, emergency vehicles, like beyond belief. And they kept us all there because it was still unsafe to actually go into the city. So while we were there, I went over to the Channel 7 news crew, and I was talking to them, standing next to a state trooper, when all of a sudden on his radio, a call came through that they had stopped a van on the New Jersey Turnpike. That van was full of explosives. I said, we got this thing going on. Now they got a van on the turnpike full of explosives. You got to be kidding me. But anyway, so we never actually got a chance to go over there. a couple of maybe a couple months after that, when everything was a little cleared up, then I met up with another group of motorcyclists. They were heading over there to give out monetary donations to some of the fire stations and to the American Red Cross. But that thing just shook me like you wouldn't believe. You know, it was a horrible experience. So I know how the family feel, not only for the 2 World Trade Center towers, but Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and the Pentagon. And we have 4 minutes before we go to the first break. I'm going to get that over to Ms. Jacqueline Collins.
Yes, and we know that the World Trade Center bombing was the first terrorist attack on U.S. soil that caused by foreign nationals that caused this amount of deaths, this amount of tragedies in the U.S. And so that's why it's such a memorable occasion. And in our generation, we had never experienced such an attack, or have not until this day seen an attack on the U.S. that had such a profound effect. That particular attack affected not only the U.S. economy, but the economies globally around the world. So it had such a big effect that not only affected the United States, but affected the world markets. And so that's why it's so memorable, and such a large amount of loss of life on that particular day. And so myself personally, it's always stuck in my mind because I had a surgery at that time and I had been given 2 years to live. So I always pin my own personal life victory with the World Trade Tower bombings at that time. I was the day after, or the day that it happened, I had surgery the day before. And so I was healing. And I remember I came down and turned the TV on, and I thought that I was seeing an old movie. And I thought, wow, look at this. You know, what movie is this?
And we have somebody just text that says that they were in building number 2 on that particular day. That person, I recognize the name. She is our past commander at the Disabled American Veterans Chapter 37 in Greenville. We have only 2 minutes to go before the break. If you would like to call in and offer a comment about your experience, that number to call is 252-756-2008. 756-2008. I was about to give out my cell phone number. I apologize. So that was Miss Beverly Spencer. If you don't do it before the break, we'll get you after the break. I'm going to let Ms. Collins continue.
And so I was healing at that time. And I remember turning the TV on and thinking that I was looking at a movie. But I remember when I saw it, it looked like a black and white movie when we first saw the plane hit the tower.
Yeah.
And then I remember changing the channel. And I was thinking maybe I was just still hazy from the surgery. And maybe I wasn't changing the channel. And I remember looking at the batteries and thinking that the batteries must be wrong because this same thing is on every channel.
Wow.
So maybe it's not changing the channel. And I remember checking the batteries, and then it was like, it just hit me. This is reality. This is real. This is happening on TV. And so I had to turn the volume up and find out what was happening. And I'm sure, just like a lot of Americans and a lot of people, we were absolutely horrified and shocked and, just not knowing what to say as seeing those sights of the planes hitting the towers on that day.
Absolutely. As I pointed out, not only the towers, but Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where
Yes.
flight number 83, whatever it was, went down because they were realized they've been hijacked, and they said, let's roll. So they took the aircraft in their hands, although unfortunately it crashed, but they took matters in their own hand before the terrorists took their lives. Miss
Yes, I remember being 8 or 9, and at the time I lived in New York, and we were actually on a bridge headed to New Jersey at the time.
Wow.
I had a doctor's appointment, so we were still traveling back and forth. We had just moved back to Brooklyn, and I remember my mom panicking, and she called my dad. She was like, "You guys got to get off the bridge. It just hit the Twin Towers. They might hit we don't know what's going to happen." So,
ladies and gentlemen, keep it locked right here. This is 106.9 FM, Awesome Radio. Back in a moment.
My name is Jayla, and you're to see to my papa, Glenn Johnson, on the radio.
Pitt Community College Sir, you came in from break. I can't hear nothing.
Try. How about now?
Not yet.
Yeah, that should be
There
coming
you
through.
go. Okay, you're back.
Yeah, that should be coming through. Thank you.
You're back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a question or comment, but you have to turn your radio down because it's going to do feedback. Can you hear me okay? We'll get her to call back after the next break. I'm going to let Miss Jackie continue. Sorry about that, Jackie, for cutting you off.
It's okay. From 2002 to 2011, and the Brookings Institute addressed those pressing questions through the Continuity of Government Commission. Please join Norman A. Ornstein and John C. Frontier for a conversation on the Commission's recommendations of what new continuity issues have arisen from the coronavirus pandemic and other threats in the post 9/11 era.
Yeah. Since we have 1 minute to go, would you mind going back through that part again, that entire thing? Because I didn't have the button up. That's why she said she couldn't hear. I'm sorry about that.
All righty. Event description. 20 years ago, brave passengers aboard United Airlines Flight 93 prevented terrorists from flying a jet aircraft into the heart of Washington, D.C. Although the plane failed to reach the U.S. Capitol or the White House, Americans were nonetheless forced to confront difficult questions about the continuity of the U.S. political institutions. What if an attack on Congress had been successful? What if terrorists succeeded in declamating the presidential line of succession?
Right. Why that rings a bell with me is because I remember when they evacuated the Capitol due to when the September 11 happened. I remember Secret Service agents going into a building, picking Condoleezza Rice up by both arms and both armpits, and just carried her to a waiting helicopter and flew off to who knows where. You know what I mean? We got 26 seconds before we go to the second break. Then we'll be back. And as I mentioned, I'm not going to delay anything by talking and all that stuff because I know Ms. Dorsett wants to get out a lot of information. So, ladies and gentlemen, keep it locked right here to the Glenn Johnson Show. Motivations with Glenn. This is Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM. Back in a moment.
Hi, this is LaManda. I listen to Awesome Radio 106.9 FM.
Ever cut a dam?
The button. Can't hear you.
All right, good. There we go. There we go. You have a question or comment?
I can't hear.
I don't know what's going on with it. It should be working.
Unfortunately, I'm missing everything that you're saying.
All right. Well, um, let me hang up and we got to continue with the broadcast. Anyway, we can hear you if you want to just go ahead with a comment or question. That would be helpful. Go ahead. I'm going to ask either Ms. Dorset or Ms. Collins to go ahead with the comment or question, or with their commentary.
Okay. I just thought it was interesting what you just shared with us, and I cannot imagine how that would have looked. As I got older, I kind of, when I was younger in that moment, I kind of put it behind me. I guess you could say it's one of those suppressed memories. It's like it happens, it does affect you, but it's like you don't know how to process that at a
Yeah.
young age. So it wasn't until we got into high school when I moved to North Carolina. And we actually watched the movie United 93. And that in itself was just, it triggered a lot of emotions because the bravery and the courage of those individuals that had to sacrifice their lives so that we wouldn't be completely and utterly destroyed as a country. And it's just, what can you say to that? It's just, I can't fathom. In certain parts of the movie, you see them making phone calls to their loved ones, not knowing if they'll even get those calls. And, just the level of bravery is just unmatched. And they weren't, superheroes, they weren't first responders, but they laid down their lives so that those of us around us could continue and fight through this
Yeah.
moment.
Especially all those firefighters in the great city of New York
Right,
that lost their lives just doing their daily job.
right.
They had no idea what was going to take place that day, but they went in to do their normal duties as a firefighter, and unfortunately lost their lives. Not only a few firefighters, we talking about entire fire companies
Yeah.
or fire battalions, an awful lot of people. So my heart still goes out to all of the brave men and women in uniform, whether it's blue from law enforcement, the New York City Police Department, or the fire department. And it was not only the New York City Police Department and Fire Department, it was also the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey,
Right.
and all the lives that they lost as this tragedy unfolded, and a lot of other individuals. So, it's just a sad thing, but let's not forget any of it.
Right.
And what should we teach our children that don't know anything about this? Does anybody have any idea of what we could tell our children so they'll know growing up what occurred and how we could remember these individuals?
I would say that because times are so different and everybody is different in their own way, and there's a lot of division. The one thing that I could instill in my child when I have them is that unity is super important in times of crises and need. It does not matter if you're blue, purple, pink, straight, gay, whatever. We all need each other, and for us to keep up with this superficial things in life and not realize a human or a soul that needs help is just mind-boggling. So I will always instill in my child to, in a time of need, be that support, no matter what, because as Pastor Trev says of Koinonia Christian Center Church, we're not meant to do life alone. And that was a moment that was pivotal that showed that we need each other no matter what it is. And so I would simply instill that in my child, and to know that, unfortunately, sometimes we just don't know what to expect, but impact is important no matter what you do, as long if it's small or big. Always remember to do something impactful during that day, because it will mean something later, and those will be seeds that will be sown. So
I agree with you, and I couldn't agree with you more. Jackie?
Also, I believe too, those of us that are parents and those that are raising children, is to also instill a conscience in them. Because, terrorism doesn't just happen from, we talked about profiling those people that are abroad, but now even in the United States, we see some acts that are considered terrorism, school shootings and these type of things. So, they are aware of those type of things in our environment in today. So they can also be taught about what happened in the past from even some of the things that we're seeing today. I wanted to say that that on 9/11 was not the first terrorist attack on the Twin Towers.
Right.
There was an attack in 1993 a bombing that killed 6 people there. So we also want to be aware that even though 9/11 was the larger catastrophe, that this particular any terrorism can break out and it can happen anywhere again, and it can happen unaware. We also have to be aware that even though we're living our daily lives and we're going forward with our life in many ways, there are some people that are not thinking on the same level. They're not thinking about just living lives. They're thinking about destroying others. And so in our prayers, we must always pray and keep our children, our nation, our family, and even the United States covered in prayer.
Absolutely. I agree, because that's something that's been taken out of schools and should have never left the schools. Now, I get it, be respectful of everyone's religion, but it's just like you've seen the shift. And it's like now, schools are calling for that covering because, like you said, you just never know. And like you said, terrorism comes in different shapes and forms now on our own soil, in our own neighborhoods, in our own backyards. And so being prayerful and vigilant is super important, super important.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, we had mentioned this last week, the bombings. What was that, 1993?
1993, yes.
So do you think anybody might conclude that might have been a prelude to the World Trade Center attacks on September 11th?
Yes, I definitely agree that was a prelude, that it was like the trial run, and they were already targeting that particular area and those buildings. And so it was just a way of just getting our attention. And, we need to be aware, that public places and places that people frequent, high buildings, places that have a lot of media attention and focus, and even the beauty of places sometimes are the objects of terrorist attacks.
And I'll pray to God that this thing doesn't happen anywhere again, not only on American soil, but on any soil anywhere in the world. I hope this tragic, devastating thing do not happen again, because it's going to affect people beyond belief. Because I know there's still a lot of people that cannot resonate or get this out of their conscience. It just bothers them so bad. They have no recourse. And we have to feel the same way they feel. I feel that way. I am an American citizen, and I felt personally attacked. So listen, I don't like to be attacked. Ms. Dorsett.
I agree. Nobody wants that, and it hits different when it's in your own backyard. And it goes back to me. I don't have children, but I do have 3 brothers, and I think about their safety all the time.
Right.
And it's like, how can I, protect them from a world sometimes that is just so unquestionable, so uncertain. And, one thing about it, it definitely, again, like I said, brought people together. It gave people purpose. As crazy as it sounds, a lot of young children, that experience is like, oh, well, I want to be a first responder, or I want to go into the military, I want to be able to protect, so there was a lot of positive things that were formed.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Awesome Radio 106.9 FM, the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivation with Glenn. Remember, if I'm not on your radio just isn't on. We'll be back in a moment.
Keep it locked right here to the Glenn Johnson Show.
Partial funding for this program is brought to you by A Special Place Home Care, 3729 West Wilson Street, Suite 7, Farmville. We assist you with personal care in the comfort of your own home. Cooking, cleaning, laundry, shopping, running errands, and more. 252-228-8306. A Special Place Home Care, helping you and your loved ones to maintain good quality of life right at home. 252-228-8306. A Special Place Home Care, companion care, respite care, Personal Care, 252-228-8306. Thank you, A Special Place Home Care, for your support.
Awesome Radio. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show. Motivations with Glenn here on Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM, Winterville, Ayden, Clifton, Southside, Greenville, North Carolina. We're going to continue our topic of discussion, remembering 9/11, with Ms. Ariel Dorset.
So, I mentioned a little bit about where I'm from and why I'm here. And our 9/11 Day of Service and Remembrance program is housed at Greenlamp Community Action Agency, which is housed in Kinston. And we are a community-based organization that has several programs that assist a little over 11 counties through our various programs, 9/11 being one of them. Greenlamp was founded in 1965 due to President Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty Act. It was created with that same effect to help the communities in need. And so the cornerstone of the agency is the Community Services Block Grant Program, and they assist various counties with rental, utility assistance with going back to school, anything that helps them to become self-sufficient. And amongst those other programs, Greenlamp is mainly known for our Head Start and Early Head Start programs, which is a daycare facility across the counties for childcare that is provided for low-income families. And so Greenlamp does a lot in the community. And the 9/11 Day of Service program, we are actually the only program in North Carolina housed at Greenlamp. So it's just been an honor to serve. And so in honor of this, amazing time with you all today, I wanted to share a little bit about our event that we'll be having on Sunday, September 11th. It will be from 4 to 6 p.m. in the Market Square in the town of Winterville. And
Oh, yeah.
yes, and that address will be 252 Main Street, Winterville, North Carolina, 28590.
I live right down the street, so I will be there in attendance. I'll probably be the first one there.
Oh, wonderful. We come on through and invite your friends and family. As I said, it'll be a time of community engagement and again, honoring those first responders as well as the town of Winterville for allowing us to host that event. And we do this every year. Last year, we were blessed and fortunate to do it in Bethel with Mayor Glorstein, and that was an awesome time.
That's fantastic. I'm glad you're happening in Winterville. And anything else you want to share about your 9/11 remembrance?
Absolutely. So as I said, a big part of our program is volunteer engagement. So we have several projects coming up. We're getting ready to actually close out our program year, but starting in October, we'll be rebooting and we will be kicking off our program year with our food and hygiene drive. And so across Pitt, Greene, Lenoir, and Beaufort counties, we collect donations. And we also, at the end of the collection time, we drop off those donations to veteran centers, senior centers, homeless shelters, women and children shelters. So it's a really exciting time to get those volunteers engaged. And before that, we also have a blood drive coming up on September 15th. In Lenoir County in Kinston at the Fairfield Center. So if you're eligible to give blood, you can come and be a part of that. I can share my contact information for anyone who's interested in any type of volunteer opportunity. I could be reached at 252-933-1066 or by email at adorcent, DORCENT, at Greenlamp, GREENELAMP.org.
That was a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. Or you can simply contact me. I have her information available. I would be more than happy to forward it to you with her permission. My email address, as you all know, is Glenn with 2 N's, Glenn, GLENN, Johnson Show at gmail.com. We have 5 minutes remaining for this particular segment. I'm going to get that to Ms. Jacqueline Collins. Then we'll be back after that with our final 10 minutes of the broadcast. Jackie.
I just wanted to give out a couple of little facts about 9/11. And I just wanted to, we don't want to just focus on the lives that were lost, but there were 18 people that were rescued
Yeah.
from the rubble.
Yeah.
And so we want to talk about the first responders
Yes.
and those type of things, those organizations that are helping people. And we see that with the 18 that were saved, that was what due directly to their rescue from rescuing the people from the rubble that day. And so we want to just also mention that there's a fund established to compensate victims, ensuring that they are compensated, those victims of 9/11, and even some of the families of 9/11 that was established by our government. So there are things that are in place, that were put there to make sure that funding doesn't run out concerning that particular fund.
Right, because some of those survivors or rescuers might have ongoing health problems due to the breathing situation at the time with all the dust and whatever was taking place at that time. Is that correct?
Yes. So there are some lasting effects, even though it was 20 something years ago.
Yeah.
There's still people that are being affected by it even to this day.
And another thing you mentioned, let's not forget about the survivors. And that rung a bell in my head. There was a gentleman who was a Marine. He's a veteran, but he was a Marine. And when the attacks happened, like myself, he donned his Marine Corps uniform, went to the World Trade Center Ground Zero, and was searching through the rubble. Actually, he was actually there, feet on the ground, searching in the rubble. When he just heard this distinct voice coming out of the distance, sure enough, it was somebody that was alive. He saved their lives and pulled them to safety, and he got a tremendous amount of honor for that. I don't have the document in front of me to share any more information on that, but that just brought that to my memory. Thank you very much. And thank you to that Marine. Thank you for your help. Thank you for saving that gentleman, sir.
So we want to say thank you to all that were involved in that, all of the first responders for working in that, and even the first responders that are available now that are still 20-something years old, that are 20-something years later that are still serving. Over 80 billion people lost their jobs when 9/11. That was another thing. We focus a lot of times on the loss of life, but 80 billion people lost their jobs. This affected a large amount of people in the area that couldn't get in there and couldn't go back to work, and those that just didn't have any place, and even those that were not present that day that still lost their jobs. So
because a lot of business had to shut down because of the debris that fell, might have damaged their property adjacent to the World Trade Center. Even some of the corporations that was housed in the World Trade Center.
Yes.
Even since it was in New York City, and I don't think the New York Stock Exchange was too far away. Imagine the impact on the stock exchange.
9 months to clean up and to clean up that area, and 1.8 million tons of debris. That's a lot of debris to be cleaned up from that area. This was a great loss, and it was a great cleanup effort even after to get that area restored.
And it's, believe it or not, it still continues today, because I think they're building a new building in replace of the one World Trade Center. And I think that's still in the construction if it's not complete. But behold, our eyes will hold something to see when they get done with that. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be the safest building in the world.
I hope so. I hope so.
God. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. And it's just like you were saying, the shutdown, it's like nobody thinks about the aftermath. Like you said, we do focus on the lives lost, which is super important. But to imagine to not be able to work and then to even receive assistance, like where do you go to even get the help? Because everything is so chaotic right now. You don't know who to turn to if you're You know, people don't have addresses at this point to get their mail.
Yes. Or do
Yeah.
you say, well, when you file for your unemployment, it's because of a bombing, you know,
Yeah.
the Trade Center bombing. I mean, that wasn't in a file yet. They didn't
Right.
have anything at that point.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, keep it locked right here to the Glenn Johnson Show. Motivation with Glenn here on Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM. We'll be back with our final 10 minutes. Back in a moment.
This is Simple Life with Pastor Ron Vietti.
Holiness is separating yourself. Even TV, I caught myself this week watching a movie and it was really good. And then all of a sudden I felt the Holy Spirit say, change the channels, change the channels. And I was watching this army show and they were knifing each other and they said a few cuss words. And I told my wife, I said, over there, I tell she getting nervous. She started just, shifting papers. Finally, she takes her stuff. I said, where are you going? She says, going upstairs to pray for you. We're watching Family Feud. And she says, really, do we have to watch that? Everything's suggestive in that show, Ron. When people used to say stuff like that to me and they were older, I'd go, man, legalistic. You people need to be set free in Christ. Come on. But now I'm beginning to see that through sanctification, it changes who you are. So I'm seeing things different.
Simple Life with Pastor Ron Vietti is the radio ministry of Valley Bible Fellowship. Experience the energy, passion, and love for Jesus found at changeourcity.com.
My name is Jayla, and you're to see to my papa, Glenn Johnson, on the radio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show. Motivation with Glenn here on Awesome Radio. We have narrowed it down to our final 10 minutes of the broadcast, so I'm not going to delay anything. I'm going to give it over to Ms. Ariel Dorset and Ms. Jacqueline Collins to end the broadcast for today. Thank you very much.
So we have some facts here. We were just talking about the debris and the cleanup. And so one particular question that was asked was, where did all the 9/11 debris go? And it says much of the debris was hauled off to the Fresh Kills landfill on Staten Island, where it's further searched and sorted. And I wonder, honestly, I guess it was 9 months to try to get that all there. And I'm like, is it still there? Like, what do we do with it after it was sorted?
Yeah, because a lot of that stuff coming out of the city, because there's only one way to get to Staten Island in the first place, and that's the Staten Island Ferry. So that Staten Island Ferry or some barges had to have a lot to do with the massive cleanup and getting people in and out of Staten Island in general.
Right.
That's the only way in and out is by the Staten Island Ferry.
Wow. And then another thing we talked about was cost. And it says, how much did it cost to clean up 9/11? And the final cost of the cleanup and restoration of the World Trade Center site is expected to be about $1.5 billion.
Ooh.
And another $16.4 billion will be required to replace or repair destroyed and damaged buildings at the site and its adjacent areas to replace the building's contents.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the buildings that were affected. It was everything around
that general area.
And that whole area is just like, you would have thought that it was just the towers, but I'm like, there's so much literally around there, the stores, the restaurants, the hot dog stand, not to mention the subway underneath.
Yeah.
And so imagine the transportation also being affected for a little while, because the train can't take its normal route and they have to figure all of that out as well. That's just monumental.
Because I'm pretty sure they built these buildings to withstand high winds and things of that nature. But they never ever probably thought someone would take it and just fly a plane through the building. And they probably didn't think that if something had struck the building, even if it was a high wind, that the buildings were going to come tumbling down as they did.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. This new building that's under construction, when it's complete, it's going to be something to behold, because I don't think they're going to take all this knowledge and information they have now and build something of similar proportion and maybe take that out. I think this is going to be a better, safer building. I'll pray to God.
Same.
Definitely. I believe that it's going to be something to behold. I was looking at a few things about the terrorists themselves. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I saw was that they had some of the bombers on the plane, or the hijackers on the planes, they began to come to the United States and they began to take flights. They began to study and began to focus on what they were attempting to do. And so they took many flights to see how the patterns of flights,
Yeah.
and how to be able to hijack the planes.
Yeah.
And, you know, how they took so much time and put in so much effort. You know, that was a long period of time, that months and months and months, that they began to, you know, study and look at these things and try to plan this particular attack.
You know
So-
what? And somebody should have known something when they said, we just want to learn how to fly. We don't need to learn how to land.
Wow. And like you said, they literally blended in.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have had regular
Yeah,
jobs.
exactly. Yeah.
Clocked in, clocked out. I'm sure they had their interests or their
Yes.
family. And it's just like, how do you wake up one morning, although you've been planning this, but act normal, but have this sinister, devious plan on the inside?
Yes, it
Like-
takes a
like-
certain heart to continue with that
Right.
months and months and months, and never get the conscience to say, I'm going to abort this, or I'm going to turn in everybody else, or I'm going to turn away from this.
Where's
It-
your humanity?
It takes
Yeah,
a
but-
certain kind of heart for that.
Yeah, because like in one of these documents on the bombings of the World Trade Center in '98, one of the terrorists, what they apprehended, said that it would have been more damage if he had enough money to get to where he needed to go. So what does that tell you? They simply just didn't care. And some of them still don't care. All the ones that's alive. But we're not putting up with it. Let's make mention of that. United States is not putting up with it. Neither are our citizens.
And neither did we put up with it at that time, because there was a $25 million reward for Osama bin Laden,
Yeah.
who was the leader of this particular, who took credit for leading this particular attack on the United States. And so we know that justice was served, and you know that vengeance was had concerning this, that they did come to justice, and his life was lost.
Yeah. We have 4 minutes before we wrap up today's broadcast. If Ms. Dorset wants to add anything further.
I'm just honored to be able to sit here and be on the show and talk with you all about something that to this day, on its 21st anniversary approaching, still has monumental and significant meaning in our country and across the world. It didn't just affect us, but literally around the world. Those stood in solidarity with us with this particular attack. And it's like now you're seeing some of the children from the documentary who were babies at that time, now grown up and sharing their significance of it. So
Yeah.
it's unfortunately, in a way, it's a timeless event that will always receive notoriety for how monumental and significant it was. And in addition to the pandemic, it's just, these are really life-altering things that, you know, just allows you to wake up and not take things for granted.
And I'll ask you if you could repeat the information for what's taking place in Winterville.
Yes, so on Sunday, September 11th from 4 to 6 p.m., we will be in the Market Square in the town of Winterville at 252 Main Street, Winterville, North Carolina, where we'll be having our second annual 9/11 Day of Service and Remembrance Memorial Program to honor the first responders in the Pitt County community and, of course, all across the country. And we will pay tribute to first responders and get the community involved to also do the same with us.
And for anybody that is not familiar with Winterville, the market on the square is directly across the street from the Winterville Fire Station. We see the bay doors for the fire apparatus. Right across the street is the market on the square. We have 2 minutes remaining. I'd like to get out of the to Ms. Collins, who will end today's broadcast for us today. Ms. Collins.
So many people ask, where was God on that day? And the Bible says that the eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the good and the evil. There's no place that we can go from his presence. There's no place that he's not in. He was there. I remember the acronym that you said on the last show. It was HELP.
Help. Heal everything, Lord, please.
Heal everything, Lord, please. And that's still a good acronym until this day. God was there. he was helping, he was healing, he saw it, and he knew, and nothing happens without his permission. And so there was a great unity that came about in this nation after that. There were people that began to come together and pray, and people began to look out for one another.
That's right.
All over this nation and in other nations, their prayers were with us concerning
That's right.
this particular attack.
And based upon what you just said, here's something else to add to that. When things happen, we can still come together and have joy, because that joy, it might not be a moment of celebration, but it's a coming together joyfully. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord. Joy, the acronym for that. Jesus, others, and you. So with Jesus, others, and you or me, we can get this thing done. Jackie.
So we want to remember each other and remember this particular day. And also tell your children, don't forget 9/11. Celebrate on that day and do something to memorialize that day in your family and in your households. Even watch the programs that'll be coming forth on TV concerning that particular day and remembrance and the celebration events of that day.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you in Winterville.
I'll see you in Winterville.
I'll see you there too. And thank you for tuning in today, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Ms. Dorset for being here. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
This is The Man in the Mirror with best-selling author Patrick Morley.